summer, and today's project is all about sunshine. Hi everybody, and welcome to my channel. It's Kaz here. Today we are making a sunny wall decor or wall hanging, so stay tuned. For the centre of my sun, I'm going to be using this Hayfield Bonus Aran Extra Value yarn, and the colour is 0574 Cornfield. And from my stash, I'm going to be using some DK weight orange yarns. These are slightly different because I'm running a little bit low on orange, so I may have to mix and match these two. And for the facial accents, we are going to be using a little bit of black for the mouth and a little bit of DK pink for the cheeks. You're going to need a scissors, a crochet hook, and some stitch markers will be handy. And I'm using some 10mm safety eyes. You're also going to need some stuffing. At the end of the video, I'll show you how to connect the suns into a wall hanging or wall decor. And for that, you're going to need some beads. These beads are approximately 15mm long. Okay, and they have got approximately a 3mm hole in the centre, so you're going to need a few of those. I think I've used 9 altogether, multitude of colours. Alright, you're going to need some twine. I've got some jute twine here, but you could use some ribbon if you preferred to go along the back instead. And I'm also using, these aren't imperative, but these are some decorative items I had from my mother's stash, and some matching wool of your choice in order to make a tassel for the bottom. To start our project, we're going to take our Aran yarn and we're going to cast on as we normally do, back and forth all the way around the bed of the machine, back to the beginning. And you'll always end with your yarn behind your final needle on all of the machines. Then we're going to zero our clock and we're going to knit 30 rows. Taking it easy with the 22 pin starting off. Mine gets a little bit cranky sometimes and splits the yarn. There we go. So I'll see you now at 30 rows for casting off. Here we are on our last row, coming up to row 30, and then we're going to stop. Snip off a longish yarn tail. And we're going to cast off as we normally do. Yarn onto a needle. I've broken my Addi one, so unfortunately I've got to go onto my normal silver one. And what I find with the 22 machines, the Addis anyway, when I like to cast off is completely opposite that screw there. So if you're new to casting off, crank your machine forward to that screw and pick up that stitch. And you can do it one stitch at a time if you're new to circular knitting. And as you get a little bit more proficient, then you can pick up more than one stitch at a time and not get them all tangled around your needles like I've just done there. Work is off the machine, and that's our centerpiece knitted and done. We are going to cast on. Zero our clock, and we are going to knit 20 rows. Again, I'm taking it slow on my first couple of rounds, and then we're away. So 20 rounds. And grab your waste yarn, and we're going to cast off with waste yarn. And use a nice contrasting yarn so that you can see the stitches when we come to seam up later on. So I'm going to drop my waste yarn to the floor, make sure that it catches, and I'm going to do 6 rows of waste yarn. That's my usual go-to. there's my 6 rows of waste yarn. I'm going to chop that off there like that. Take my yarn out and just crank twice and your work will fall off the machine. Like that. So knit another 5 now, because we need 6 of these all in total for our project. And for now, don't stretch your work out, okay? I'm going to show you why that is a little later on. Once we've stretched out our work, cinch one end, closed like that, and I'm going to pop it on a darning needle now. And we're going to go around the stitch line, and we're going to thread our yarn around the stitch line at the tip here, and we're aiming to get as smooth a gather as we possibly can, because this is going to be the front of our sun's face and we want it to be nice and neat. So I'm going to pull that in there like that. And hopefully that'll be sufficient. That looks great to me. So I'm going to push my needle through now and bring that tail through to the other side. I'm not going to tie it off just yet. Let's pull that through there like that. And we're going to manipulate and make that as smooth and as flat as we possibly can there like that. I'm going to turn that inside out, and I'm going to put a knot on the inside of the work so I don't hinder the front look of this piece. I don't want to have any knots showing, so I'm going to put my little knot on the inside of the work. Just a small knot, just to secure it so it doesn't move. Pull that through there like that. And mine is snagging a little, so there we go, that'll do it. That's perfect. So we can trim that one off now. And that's looking pretty good. We'll even this out, and it'll look a little better when we add some stuffing to it as well. So what we're going to do now is to add the eyes. Now I've got my 10mm safety eyes here, but of course you can embroider on later if you prefer to do that. And I've got a small piece of felt, and I'm going to chop a little bit of felt like that. Chop it in half like that, and in half again. So I 2 little centimetre squares, I guess. And I'm going to fold it like that, and I'm going to just a little groove in there, and a little snippy groove in there, and that's going to go behind my eye, and it'll help to stop it from pulling through the fabric. Now I'm going to place mine about 1, 2, 3, 4 up to start off. I'm not going to worry about where it sits. And I'm going to pop my little piece of felt behind there as a holding piece. Grab my other eye if I can find it. And we don't want them too far apart, because once you stuff it, it is going to spread a little. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, can't count, 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly there. That's roughly even. Fingers crossed it is anyway. Pop my felt piece on the back, and then grab my backs. And of course you can pre-fill your work if you want to double check that you're happy with it, but I'm going to take a chance this time. And I'm going to pop it on, and pop that one on. There we go, those are on. So we're about 4 stitches up from the center cinch there, and we're approximately 1, 2, 3, 4 rows apart. That's the way where I put them, but you can judge and do that yourself if you want to. Now I'm going to add a little bit of stuffing. You don't want to go mad on this. We don't want it to be too puffy. We want it to be more flat, like a donut really. if you know the donuts with the holes in them, which sadly I know them far too well. And we're going to push your finger in there like that and even that out. And you should get it as flat as you possibly can. And we're aiming to get it like a flat piece like that. That's what we're aiming for there. So we don't want to overfill it. So I've even got bits of offcuts of yarn in my stuffing there. So we're going to stuff it like that. And cinch that close and then see how we sit. And we're going to push that onto the table to get it to sit like a flat donut. That's what we're headed for. Okay, my table's wobbling there. So that's the plan, with a flat donut type shape. The flat donut type shape is what we're after. Okay, and when we're happy with that, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to overstuff it, because I want it to be more of a flat plump disc than anything really. And I'm going to pop my tail on a darning needle, and I'm going to do exactly what I did for the front. It's not quite so imperative to do it this way. Normally I just put a stitch in, but because I'm trying to get a flatter face without too many wrinkles in it, I'm doing it this way. So cinch it all around through those stitches, and then we should be fine and dandy to put a little stitch in there like that. That's great. And there's our little sunflower face. Now we can put a stitch through to the front, and I'm talking a very, very small stitch now, okay? Through the front like that. Very small stitch to bring it in just a bit so it doesn't puff out too much. So a little stitch in there, back to the back. Like that, and that'll hold that donut together and stop it from going more into a tube shape. So another little knot in the back, and we'll call our little sun for now done. Once you put your knot in the back there, don't forget to thread your tail through and hide it inside and snip it off, and we can call that more or less done until we add the face details. And now we'll move on to preparing each of the lovely sun rays to go around our beautiful sun. Once complete, you will have 6 pieces to make the sunbeams. Moving on to preparing the lovely sunbeams, and this is our 20 rows, normal cast on and cast off with waste yarn. And what we're going to do is seal the tube. Now if you know how to seal a tube, then you can skip ahead by all means, but if you haven't sealed a tube before, then this might help you. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting my tails on the far left hand side. This is the way I like to do it. Okay, now some people count their stitches. I just line it up all the way along, all the way along, all the way along. So we've got a stitch opposite all the way, and we end up, if I do this correctly, with 2 stitches on the end there. Okay, so we've got stitches opposite each other all the way. Now my little tip for this is don't stretch your work out before you seal the tube. Okay, now I've already stretched the tube in order for you to see it. This is unstretched, as you can see. It's straight off the machine, not fiddled with or stretched at all. And this is a stretched one. Alright, now I'm going to do the same thing. And as you can see, if I line up my stitches here, with my tails on the far left, and there are my 2 stitches here ready that I need to catch. If you compare the two, bearing in mind they are slightly different yarns, but they're both DK yarns, okay? You can see the stitches are slightly larger on the non-stretched one, and I find it's a little easier to catch them and then stretch the work later. But if you're happy to do it when the stitches have been stretched out, which they are a little smaller there, as you can see in full comparison, there you go. That's unstretched. You can see the tube is wider, the stitches are more full, and this one's a stretched tube. It's in its normal form when you're ready to assemble, and the stitches are a lot smaller. Okay, so that's my little tip. So I'm going to move on now to sealing this tube up, and we've got our 2 stitches there. Now before we go any further, I'm going to grab 2 stitch markers if I can find them. I'll put them to one side somewhere. There's my stitch markers. Now I'm using blue ones because obviously that's a contrasting colour, and I'm going to pop them in the end, but you can use a paper clip or something like that if you don't have a stitch marker. And I'm going to mark my last 2 stitches because they can disappear sometimes, and it's a little bit frustrating. I'm not going to tie them up, I'm just going to leave them dangle there, but they don't disappear quite so much when you don't stretch your tube first. So all you do is put your crochet hook through one and a crochet hook through that one and pull one through the other, and then zigzag down to one side and pull it through. I'm no crochet guru either, so excuse me for using both hands. I can't seem to do these without doing it that way. And zigzag all the way down, catching your yarn, avoiding catching your waste yarn because it'd be difficult to remove otherwise. Okay, and that's all we do all the way down. Pick one from the bottom row, pull it through, one from the top row and pull it through, and so on all the way down the tube until you do your last 2 and then pull the tail through, and that's your tube sealed and done. Here we are doing our last 2 stitches with the stitch markers through, and as you can see that was much easier without stretching the work beforehand. The stitches are far easier to see. Pull the stitch markers out, and that's it, job done. All you need to do then is to remove your waste yarn, and again my other little tip is to hold the tail there and pull your waste yarn and leave it twirl, and hopefully it won't get caught in that tail, which is really annoying. And then we can just pull out our yarn. Job done. Roll that back up and keep it for the next time you need to knit on a 22 and end with waste yarn. So do that now for the other sunbeams, okay, for the medium and the large. Do them all. There'll be 12 in total, and we'll come back and we'll start the assembly process. I did indeed run out of the same kind of yarn in order to do my larger sun, but I'm going to alternate my oranges, so there's 3 of one colour and 3 of the other shade, and I think that'll work out perfectly fine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to form the sunbeam on the outside of our sun, okay? So we've already seamed up the one end, and what we're going to do now is to just plain gather the other end slightly, and then we're going to grab a little bit of stuffing, not too much, like a little blob here. It's hard to say how much. We don't want it too puffy, but again it's going to be down to taste, I guess, so I'm going to put in a little bit like that, so it's like a soft, I can give you the profile of it there, I'll give you an idea. Push it up into there a little bit, and I think that's about right. So cinch up that end then, and we need to grab our needle, and we're going to seal that end up. Now I'm not going to worry about feeding through all the loops this time because this is going to be at the back of the project, so I'm literally just going to do a couple of little stitches to finish that off, like that, and I'm going to leave the tail on. Okay, now the other tail we need to bury inside the work because we don't need that one, so you can do that before stuffing or after, that'll be up to you. So I'm just going to pop that down there like that, pull that through, fluff that back up, trim that off, and there's our one sunbeam done. Now we need to manipulate this sunbeam, okay? So grab the side and grab the side like that and pull. Right, now you'll see that your line is running straight down. So now push it like that. Okay. And there we have our sunbeam. And we need to do the same now with all the rest. And if it is bagging a little bit at the back, don't worry about that too much. You can always take this length here and put a few stitches through, which will hold it in place a little bit. But as we'll be stitching it onto the center sun part, we will be altering it slightly anyway. So make sure that the tip of your finished part of the tube there is at the top, forming the top of the sunbeam. And I'm just going to put a few little stitches through like that, just to anchor the two sides together. And then I'm going to leave my tail at the back, ready for stitching onto the center. So do the rest now exactly the same way, each one of those, and you'll have 6 exactly the same like that for the large one, and you do exactly the same for the medium sized one as well. But of course you can have the same sized sun for each of them if you prefer too large or too medium, go with that. When complete, you will have your 6 sunbeams looking beautiful and plump and ready to go. So moving on to assembling our sunny sunshine, we have our little centerpiece there, okay? So flatten that out now, make sure it's as flat as you can get it, donutty, okay? And there's the profile for you to see there. Grab my ruler so you get an idea of the profile. And in inches, it's approximately 1.5 inches thick. In centimeters, that's about 3.5 to 4 centimeters thick there, okay? And mine's measuring about 9 centimeters across, which is 3.5 inches roughly. So I've moved the tail to the front of my work here, as you can see. Okay, so the tail is sitting on this side of the work, and we are going to position our little sunshine beams in a particular way because we need to join these two suns together, so we need to leave room at the top. So smack bang in front of the eyes like that, we want to leave a gap there. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little pin and I'm going to eyeball it, and I'm going to stick my pin in there like that, and that's the center of my piece there in front of the eyes, okay, in the middle. And I want to put my sunbeams either side of that line. And I'm going to alternate the colours. As I said, I did run out of the colours of one colour in order to do it all, but I kind of like it. I think it's going to work out really nice. So what we're going to do is do that, and we're going to have the string running up the centre there. So that's the idea of that. So position one side of it, and as you can see, there's the join there, and we're going to flop it onto there like that, so that the cinch area is on the top of that line there. Now if you'd like to mark your center line all the way around there, you can use pins or some fabric marker that dissolves and disappears over time, but I'm going to eyeball mine. So I'm going to pop it there like that. Alright, and then I'm going to stitch, mattress stitch around the front and the back and back to the front. If I can get my needle in there. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And from the rear you will see that I'm holding the curved back there down on the back end of the sun center there. So keep it square. And as I always say, because it comes from my sewing, dig down if you can when you're doing these stitches and grab a little bit of the stuffing there. It will give you a much better anchoring than just grabbing the stitches. But you know, that's my style. If your style is different, then go with what you are confident in using. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to pop him down on the table a little bit there so I can keep him 100% flat. Okay, and then we're going to just stitch around. Try not to catch our pin in the center there. It's always the case, isn't it? Always manage to do that. Wrap around there. And then grab it back there like that. I'm not being too fussy on catching bars as such. I'm a bit of a lazy mattress stitcher, to be honest. So I like to grab a little bit of stuffing. I never see my stitches really, so I'm not overly bothered. But if you are a more fastidious mattress stitcher, crack on. Right, so there we go, back and forth, mattress stitching this in place, and I'm grabbing a little bit of stuffing as I go. Make sure to try and keep this straight. That line there will help you keep it straight into the center of your work there, and as you can see, that's how it's coming on the front there. It's looking really cute and really pretty. So carry on now, mattress stitching all the way around, and I'll see you back at the beginning. Remember to pull your stitches as you go with mattress stitch. Now I've ended up with a nice little divot there, a nice little V shape, which I kind of like. So I'm going to leave that, I'm happy with that. I'm going to take my needle back down to the back end there and tie off. So I'm going to do my little knot at the back where it's not seen, and then bury my tail inside the work. Like that, and that one is complete, and we're going to move on to do the next one exactly the same as we did the other one. Twiddly widdly, stitching there to start off, lining it up like that on the rear, so we've got the little curve bit going down the back there, trying to keep it central, keep that join there joining onto the edge of your sun. And stitch again, and we're going to do the same with all of these all the way around, and they line up really well if you bunch them up together. The 6 work out really nicely. So stitch that one on now, carry on and do exactly the same. Every one you make will be completely unique. So I'm going to pop around a little bit there now until I'm happy with the way that looks, and that's looking much better, as you can see there. And it's pulled it together a little bit. We're a little bit off centre, so be a little bit more careful than I am here. And I brought the tail through to the back to tie off like we did with the other one. Just a little knot like that and hide the tail. And snip off. I will attach one more sunbeam and show you how I'm going to stitch them together there, and then you can carry on and do all the sunbeams on the edge of your little pretty sun. I've got the tail on a darning needle ready to attach the next sunbeam, and I'm alternating my colours, as you know. So again, where the cinch line is, line that up with the edge there like that, and bunch your sunbeam together. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're just going to stitch it in place like that. And it gets a little bit twiddly. I'm going to go just above the cinch line there so it lines up properly. Just pop it on my table, pull it in like that, making sure we get the right line as we're going around. Cinch it in like that. Grab a little bit of stuffing as you go if you can. It does help with the stability of the project. And stitch all the way around. Now when you get to where the 2 sunbeams meet, I'm just coming up to that now. Pull my mattress stitching in a little bit. Now we can stitch these 2 together, and I'm just going to go through to the back, through to the front, line them up like that, through like that, and we're going to stitch these 2 together, go in a back and forth stitch to the back, and back to the front. And you can touch these stitches up afterwards if you're not 100% happy with them. There we go, that will be absolutely perfectly fine. And now we'll carry on. So bring my yarn down there like that, back to our stitch line. And then we can carry on stitching it onto our sun center. All the way around, pulling those stitches. And that's what you'll continue to do with the rest of the sunbeams now. Okay, so add the other 3, stitching them together as you go. So now you know how to add your sunbeams onto your sun and also to stitch them together. Now attach the other sun rays until the project is complete. And that's our sun completed and ready for the facial details. So I've got a length of black yarn, it's an Aran weight yarn, but a DK will be just as well. And we are going to put a little V-shaped smile on the front of our little sun there like that. So I'm going to come in from the rear. Okay, so I'm coming from the rear there, and I tell you what you can do which helps position is grab a couple of pins and pop a pin where you want the edge of each smile to be, and that's going to be our guide as to where we want the tips of the left and right side of the smile to be. And if you want to be extra planny ahead, you can even put one there like that, and that'll be the bottom of the smile. So if that helps you, then you can do that as well. I might take mine in just a little shallower and just a little narrower maybe. So I think I'm going to go with roughly those dimensions there. So I'm going to bring the needle in. Here we are with my black yarn on the back, and I'm going to bring in from the rear of the sunflower face to that right hand side there, thereabouts. I can take my pin out, pull it through and leave a tail. Nearly pulled it too far there, so leave a 6-inch tail or so. Then you can enter through that bottom one and come up through that one there on the left hand side. We can pull those out now, we don't need those. And there's the one side of our little smile done, and we bring our needle through the middle one there, okay, and back out exactly where we came in, not splitting the yarn as we come in because that'll cause a snag. Straight back out to the same hole, okay, because we're going to tie off in that hole, and bring our smile through. And there we go, there's our lovely little smile on our little sun. And to tie that off now, we're just going to put a few knots in the back, tie a knot and tie another knot, and then we can hide the tails inside the work. Then again enter through the same hole and pull it through with both tails, and we can snip those off then, and that'll be the job done for the smile. And the next step is optional. You don't have to put the little pink cheeks on. I think it's kind of cute and kind of looks a little bit retro to me, a little bit like the old cartoons. So fluff that up there now to make that not disappear, and make that disappear in there like that. Push that down. Job done. And there's our little smile on our sun, and by all means leave it like that if you want to, but I'll share with you how I've added some little pink cheeks, and I've got some pink DK there. If I can find the end of it, we'll be winning. Where is the end of it? There it is. So I've got a length of pink DK on my darning needle a length of pink decay. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 little lines there like that, 3 little lines there like that, and I'm going to eyeball these now. So again, I'm going to come in through the back and 3 horizontal lines, leaving a nice tail. I've got a nice long piece of yarn here because I'm hoping to do both sides of the cheek at the same time. And then we're going to go across, horizontally across the face there like that, okay? Horizontal line, and come out just below the first one, just below like that, pull through. That's our one little cheek, and we're going to go a little bit below it, tiny little bit there like that, and below it again. Push it up like that, and again bring it down a tiny bit below. We want these stitches as close together as you can possibly get them. Pull that through like that, bring that below the other 2, and there's one little pinky cheek, okay? And we are going to bring that down now, so we'll end up with 4 in the end really. Line that up there, and we're going to bring it over there like that, as symmetrical as possible. So you bring that over there like that. There we are, there's our little first cheek done. I think it adds a nice little cutesy feel. So we are approximately there from the centre and roughly there from the centre. So it'll probably be around about right if we do that. So we're going to do another little stitch there like that. Oh, that stitch is twisted. That's no good at all. So I'll take that out. Bear with me a sec. Or maybe we can rectify it. Let's just go with a rectify and see how that works out. We can. This yarn is quite thin, so we can hide that slightly wonky stitch underneath. There we are. That's better. That's fine. And I'm going to take my stitch under there. So mark yours out, or be a little bit more plan ahead than I am here. I've hidden that slightly wonky stitch. Put that down on the table for a sec so I can level that out. They're not quite identical, but I'm sure when you do it, you'll do a much better job than I have. And then bring the needle out where you came in at the back, like that. And there's our little cheeks done there like that. Not quite as perfect as I'd like on that side, but you get the idea. And if I pull that one, there we are. We can organise our little cheeks like that. So that's how you do the cheeks if you want to add them. And again, we're going to do the same thing. Add a couple of knots to secure it so it doesn't come away, and hide the tails inside the work. And all you need to do now is to make up another sun, either the same size or in the medium size, and then you've either got little miniature sun stuffies, or you can carry on with this tutorial and make the wall hanging by adding all the extra little bits, which I will show you very shortly. And there's our little sun there. Slightly wonky pig cheeks, but I'm not going to worry about that. That's the beauty of handmade after all. So I'm going to alter those a little bit, plump them up. That third stitch has gone a little bit tight there. There we go. Now that's a little bit more equal. So carry on now and make the other sun in the medium or large, and I'll put the row counts at the end of the video so you know exactly what you need in order to complete the project. So now that we've finished our 2 suns, and I've opted to make the large and the medium size there, we're going to move on to making a tassel for the wall decor or wall hanging or whatever you want to call it, okay? So let's move on and make the tassel. I'm going to be using my box to wrap my yarn around that I keep my eyes in, okay? And it's approximately 13 centimeters wide. So grab the yarn colour that you want to use. I'm going to be using a combination of the orange and the yellow, and then we'll start wrapping our yarn around to make the tassel. Here's my orange and my yellow. So I'm going to grab the tail of each one. I mean, you could do it in one colour if you want to. I thought, well, let's just mix it up a little bit. I'll pop those on the floor. And we're going to wrap around, in all honesty, I'm not quite sure how many times, but let's just do it by eye. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, oops, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and 20. Let's do it 20. And we'll bring it back down to where we started, down there, and we'll snip that off. Now we need to cut a length of yarn in order to tie it together, so I'm going to use the orange for that. So I've got about a 14-inch length there, okay. Slip this down to the bottom. Might have been easier to have wrapped it around closer to the edge, Kaz, but we'll do that. Make sure that's tucked under there like that. Bring that down there like that. And we're going to push our yarn underneath. And we're going to tie a nice knot. Bring these ends right down to the bottom. And tie a nice knot. Nice, good, strong knot. Twist it a little bit like that. And hopefully we can get a good knot. I always find it tricky to keep a knot stable like this. If you've got any tips, let me know. Where's my end gone? There it is. Right, so there's my knot. So we can slip this off now, she says. So definitely if you're going to be using one of these guys, do it the other side of the clip, alright? Made up a bit of a boo-boo there. It's a bit difficult to get off. But we will persevere and hook it over. And I'm sure we'll get free at some point. Yay, we're free. So slip that off. There we go, put those to one side. And we've got our tie there at the top. Our orange tie, so we can let those flop down like that. And there we have the beginnings of a tassel. Obviously these have gone a little bit short, so we can chop those off. So now we're going to need another length of yarn in order to tie the top. And I'm going to pick a little piece of my trimmings, my offcut there, and I'm going to take mine down. Let's measure it for you. I'm going to go down about 2 centimeters, maybe 3. I've gone for a nice chunky-ish tassel here. So we're going to tie that around. Nice and tight. Like that. And again we're going to flop around the other side. This reminds me of making a pom-pom. There we go, we're going to do that. We can let that flop down now. Let that go. And all we need to do now is to trim our ends, trim it off so it's all the same length. So I'm going to grab it, hold it like I'm cutting hair, and trim it across the bottom like that. And we can even up all those bits. That's going to go in my scrappy stuffy pile. And there's a tassel. with some strange little ends in there because I didn't quite line it up, so I'm just going to chop that off like that, no problem. And there's a tassel that we're going to add onto the bottom of our work. Now you can separate all these strands if you want to and make it even more fluffy, and I can't cut straight for toffee, so I will chop that straight as I'm going, and it'll probably get shorter and shorter and end up about 1 inch long. So there's our tassel ready to go on the bottom, and the plan is to put some string through it, and I've got some nice jute cord here. That's what I'm going to be using to make my wall hanging or wall decor, and the idea is that it hangs like that below our pretty little sun as a sunshine. And what I might add as well is I've got a box here of a tub here rather of various beads, and I'm going to add beads and the string, and let's get stringing this thing together and hanging it on the wall. So in order to make the wall hanging or wall decor, we've got our 2 little suns made there. I'm using some jute twine, but you could use I-cord, or you could even use a length of ribbon along the back and maybe hot glue it on. I've got some multicoloured beads, natural green and yellow and white, and we've already made our tassel. And I've got some of these, they're jewellery things. I think they're in my stash. I think my mother had them, and I had them from her stash when she passed away. So thanks, Mum, for all the lovely crafty things you left me. And also our needle, okay? I wanted to use a doll needle or a upholstery needle, but unfortunately the jute twine is too thick to go through the eye of that one. So we're going to have to persevere with a normal tapestry needle. So to begin, I'm not going to cut a length of the twine. I'm actually just going to thread it onto my needle and cut it when I'm happy with the length of it. That gives me a little bit more leeway as to where it sits. I'll put that out of shot for a second. And I've opted to put my little sun above my big sun, but you could quite easily put your big sun at the top and then your little sun at the bottom. Oh, now I've got a quandary. No, let's stick with my original idea. Let's put the little sun on the top and the big sun on the bottom. So we left the little gap at the top there, if you remember, for threading through. So I'm going to start threading down there, and I'm heading for in between the 2 bottom sunbeams there, okay? And I'm going to pull my jute twine through, hopefully, because this needle is quite short, so what I would like to use. And there's the start of it. Now we want a gap in between the first sun and the second sun, and that's going to be up to you whether you want a long gap, short gap, but this is a little plain. You might like it, and that's fine, go with that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some beads, and I have got various size beads here, but I can't find them, so I'm going to stick with these. They're all the same size, and I'm going to alternate my colours between yellow and white. I think maybe a natural one in the middle. So let's go yellow, white, yellow, and thread those on like that. As you can see, they'll dangle like that, okay? Then I'm going to go for a natural one. Okay, and then we're going to go yellow, white, yellow again. If I can grab a yellow, white, yellow, that is. So yellow, white, yellow, and thread those on. And that's going to give me kind of the distance I want between my suns. Okay, so if we remember, we went in on this side, so we can now need to thread down the back of there, and again through the bottom part there, because that's where we want our tassel to sit. Pull that cord through there, that twine. There we go, that's great. Now we've got the option of threading through the top of our tassel like that, which means it's going to be very, very tight at the bottom, or we can tie a knot in the top of our tassel here, wherever you want it to sit. Move that knot up a little bit. We can trim that off or even thread it in to the bodywork of the sun later on. I'm going to put it through the loop like that. Okay, That's what I'm going to do. And then pull that up there like that. And that's going to be dangling from there. I think that's going to look great. So now we need to turn our work over like that, making sure that the top of my tassel there is just got enough room. And we're going to come up the other side, back up there. This is going to be the tricky bit. Back up with our twine. We may need to put a little bit more twine through there. And then we need to go through these again, right through all of these beads. And this is definitely a tricky bit, because will I get that needle through there? That's the thing. Let's do it one at a time. Yes, we can do it, we can do it. Yellow, white, yellow, white, natural. Let's just do 2 at a time. A little bit of tugging, guys, and you'll be fine. If you've got a needle with a smaller hole on the back, it might be a little bit easier for you, or even beads with a larger hole. I'm using one I got on hand at the moment. It takes a little bit of tugging to get them through, but maybe that's a good thing, because then they're not going to be too wobbly. Back through there like that, all the way up, back through to the beginning. Just going to grab my snips and pull that through there. That's what we want, a little bit more leverage. And through that one. Like I said, I'm using a twine that's relatively thick, so that bead there must have had a slightly smaller hole in it than the other side. So now we're going to go up there. And I've left my tail on there in order to stitch the first 2 sunbeams together, back through the top. There we go, awesome. I think maybe I should have left that needle on there, but I can pop that back on. And that's what we've got so far. We've got a little bit of baggage there, so we need to pull that up. There we go. That's looking nice. There's our tassel there. That's nicely snugged up on the back there, so the cord has gone all the way up there. We can trim that off, or we can put it on a darning needle. Actually, I'll do it now. That's probably the best bet before I forget. We'll pop that on a darning needle, and we'll just thread it through the work there like that, and that's hidden then. That's a job done. And there's our tassel sitting nicely there. So now we have, oh, isn't this ever so cute? Oh my goodness me, absolutely love it. So all we need to do now is, we can stitch these together, or we can leave them. I actually quite like it left, so I'm not going to stitch those 2 together. I like it as is. So maybe leaving those 2 open, because to be honest with you, I've made a sun before, but I'm not strung it together before. This is first for me as well, guys. I thought we'll just do it together and see how we go. Now that's the length of cord I've got left after threading it through. I've got about 22 centimeters on there, so I'm going to snip mine off now, like that. And I can push this to one side because you don't need it. And what we've got to work out now is whether we want to put a few more beads on the top there, and I think we might. And I've got these little cutie little things as well, so let's have a go at putting this on our darning needle. And we might put one on there like that, and then I'll have to feed the other one through. So let's go yellow, white, yellow again. Yellow, white, yellow. And you can use whatever beads you've got to hand. It doesn't have to be yellow, white, yellow. And I think we'll do that. Oh, and I think that's really, really pretty. And we'll put another one on the top like that to cap it. And I think that's going to be ever so cute. What do you think? Isn't that just the prettiest thing? Look at that. And the tassel as well on the bottom. So cute. I could have left a little bit more of a dangler there, but I think when I was pulling through, it's pulled it a little more taut. But by all means, you can connect your tassel after the fact. You don't have to tie it into the string that's going all the way through the center of your suns, okay? So what we need to do now is to do the same with this string here. And we'll probably have to add a knot then in order to keep everything in place. And of course you can embellish this any way you choose. You can use bows, ribbons, whatever. This is just what I've got in my stash at the moment. I've not gone out and specially bought anything to make this. I like to look and see what I've got hanging around. See, oh, what can I make with that? And as it's nearly summer, well, it's supposed to be, but it's rainy here today in South Wales, I thought let's have something nice and sunny. And this would be lovely in a child's bedroom, in a nice warm sunroom. I think that's where I'm going to put mine actually, is in my conservatory or my sunroom. There we go. So what we need to do now is to add a knot to stop this from moving. So again, this is going to be a new one for me. I think I might just add a little double knot there. And hopefully that will stop it from sliding up, and indeed it does. And I think all we need to do now is to just put a little knot there like that at the top of our twine, jute cord. There we go. We can even fluff that out if we want to make it nice and fluffy. As if you want to. And then we've got our hanging piece there. I'm not going to sew these together now, actually. I think that's worked out really well. Another happy accident. I'm going to thread that tail through into the back of the work and call that almost done. Let's thread that in there like that. And we can trim that off. And that'll neaten it no end. So let's turn our little wall hanging around, and that's our wall hanging done. Isn't that just awesome? I love it. If I say so myself, I love it. Thank you ever so much for staying with me. I hope you like this project. I think it's ever so cute, something a little bit different, and I do hope that if I inspire you to make any projects of your own, whether it's for your own use or for your own channel, it would be really nice if you could actually mention that you saw this video first and inspired you to make another video. That would be really, really kind of you. But don't forget, you can join my Facebook group, Crafty Cars Collective. I'll put a link somewhere on the screen here for you to see. So join me there and you can share images with me of the things you make. My patterns and other patterns, more than welcome as well. That'd be absolutely awesome. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and make a comment if you like this project. And I'll see you again very, very soon, because I've made an adaptation to this one. I started off making, yay, see? That's a large sunflower, but he's a flower with a stem, and you can put him in a pot. So look out for the next video. I will be doing a video on how to make a sunflower flower that you can pop in a pot, and we'll be adding some leaves onto him and all of that. But I thought to get this one out to you first before I delivered this pattern, which is a beautiful flower. Okay, and he stands up like that. He stands up, and you can put him in your flower pots, and it's lovely for summer. Thank you ever so much for spending time with me once again, and don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. And if you do like this video and you find it useful and you sell and make items, which is fantastic by the way, crack on and do that. Maybe make a small donation to a local no-kill animal shelter or animal rescue to you. That really would mean the world to me. And you know I love animals, and I got a little secret. We're fostering another little dog, but I can't part with him. He's gorgeous. He's a little Pomeranian, and his name's Teddy. I'll introduce you very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. See you soon. Happy summer. Whee! Happy summer. Happy summer. Woo!